Hi guys, we're just going to do a quick lesson and review on the structure of the Iroquois. So before we begin, I want to do a quick shout out to Gracie, who actually did the two-row wampum keychain, and it turned out so good. So this is her two-row wampum keychain. She picked really awesome colors. So thanks, Gracie. That was awesome to see. So really quickly, we're going to do a review. And the first review we're going to do is the roles of men in the Iroquois. You guys should be pretty familiar with this by now. So we have our Hoyana, which is just another way of saying chief. They made decisions for their nation. They represented their nation and clans when they went to the Grand Council. And if you guys remember, that's all the way in the middle of the Iroquois Confederacy in Onondaga territory. And whenever they made decisions, they used consensus, which means everybody has to agree. Other men in the Iroquois participated in men's councils, which helped to advise the clan mothers and the Hoyana. So they would help participate in choosing who would become the chief based off of what they would tell the clan mother they believed would make the best leader. They participated in decision-making for their nation using consensus. You're going to see that coming up a lot. And the chiefs were chosen among them as well as the women's council. Quick review of our women. So the big lady we got to remember is the clan mother, and the clan mother was the person who chose the chiefs on the recommendations of the men's and women's council. So even though the clan mother chose them, they always listened to what the people in their clan thought, because that was really important to the people in the Iroquois. They had really strong influence on decisions, and their position is always passed down to the next eldest female relative. Other women in the Iroquois participated in women's councils, which then helped advise that clan mother, and they used consensus. Surprise! You found the Easter egg because you have been watching this week's social video. So congratulations, you've discovered this week's Easter egg. What's an Easter egg, you might ask? An Easter egg is a hidden object that can only be found when someone is paying close attention. So since you found this week's Easter egg, woo! Your teachers now know that you watch the video lessons we create. You rock. So last Easter egg we hid inside of the answer key, and we only had 3 people check it and find the Easter egg. So if you found it this week, awesome. So because you're such a great student, you're going to be entered into a draw for a prize. So in order for us to know that you've actually watched this video and you've found this Easter egg, you need to email your homeroom teacher a friendly message telling them how much you appreciate them. So make sure you're watching for other Easter eggs hidden throughout our weekly plans, assignments, and answer keys, and do not give it away that it's in here. The less people that know that it's in here, the higher your chances of winning are in the draw. So if you found this, don't go tell everyone where it is, or else your chance of winning is going to be a little bit lower. All right, well, congrats. Moving on with social now. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so how was the Grand Council chosen? And this is the people that went down to Onondaga territory in order to make decisions for their clan. So every clan, like we talked about, has a women's council and a men's council. And the women's council is every single woman or female in the clan gets to join the women's council and kind of have their voices heard. And same with all the men. That includes children, if you remember, get together and they help make decisions. Then the women's council and the men's council advise the clan mother. So the clan mother says, okay, what did you guys talk about? How do you feel about everything when you're making a decision? And they let the clan mother know that information. Okay. The clan mother then not only picks, but also advises the chief or the Hoyana. So once everyone's told the clan mother how they're feeling, the clan mother then goes and tells the Hoyana or the chief what the clan wants them to do. And then the Hoyana or chief needs to take that information and go make sure that they are representing their people at the Grand Council. So when they go to the Grand Council, they have to make sure that they're representing their people fairly, and they are actually representing the wants of those people. If you think about our government, if our government isn't doing what we've asked them to do or what we've chosen them to do, we can replace them. And the same goes with the Hoyana and the Iroquois. All right, you might remember some special jobs that the elders had. So something that's new is the Mohawk always announced the decisions of the Grand Council. So after everybody made their decisions, their final decisions at the Grand Council, a representative of the Mohawk clan would stand up and announce what the final decision was. We remember Onondaga, they're the keepers of the council fire, so everybody goes there to make decisions, and the Mohawk and Seneca are those gatekeepers, so they have to offer that peace 3 times or else they have to go to war. So this, I just liked this image. It was kind of a good one of just the seating, how they would go to Onondaga and do the Grand Council. So if you look over here, we've got all the elder brothers. We've got the Onondaga sitting on this side of the fire, and then we've got our younger brothers over here. You might notice that they've also got the clan names. So these are all our elder brothers. So we've got the Seneca, and then these are the different clans that are being represented by those people in the Seneca. And we've got our Mohawk and the different clans, just the bear, wolf, and turtle being represented by the Mohawk, and so on and so forth. Remember, Onondaga is the only one with eel representation, but they had to make sure that every clan did have representation. And if you remember, that was totally chosen by population. So there were 50 members that went into the Grand Council. Each nation sent a different amount of people to represent based off of how many people they had. So if we look at this, the Mohawk sent 9, Oneida sent 9, Onondaga sent 14, Cayuga sent 10, and the Seneca Nation sent 8 chiefs. So if you add all that up, it's going to give you 50. And because Onondaga had 14 members, you can take a guess that they had the highest population. The Seneca only sent 8 because they had the lowest population. And the Tuscarora joined later, and they just made decisions with the Oneida as well. Okay, so when there was a big issue for all of the Iroquois to discuss, then this is how they would get together at the Grand Council and make those decisions. So if an issue arises, like someone wants to go to war against them, then first our elders, the Mohawk and Seneca, will have to discuss the decision. If they come to consensus about whether or not they should go to war, then the discussion is going to be passed down to the younger nations to discuss. If the elders do not come to consensus, it does not move on. Okay, so they have to come to consensus and an agreement before the youngers even get a chance to discuss whether or not they should go to war. So then the elders will decide. They'll pass the issue to the youngers, the Oneida and Cayuga, and if they come to consensus or agreement, then finally Onondaga might confirm this decision and say yes or no, we are or aren't going to war. But if they do not agree, or at some point if anybody doesn't agree, even if the elders and the youngers totally agree and Onondaga turns around and says, I don't agree with you guys, it gets sent all the way back to the start of the decision-making process. So as you can imagine, it can take a really, really long time for people to make decisions in the Iroquois Confederacy. Consensus does take a lot of time, and it also sometimes can get a lot of arguments happening. But if everybody can agree, then it means that everybody's happy with the decision. So there's kind of some pros and cons to consensus decision making. If they never do, they've discussed it, they've gone through the consensus decision making process a bunch, and they still can't agree, then they say, you know what, go back. They're going to cover the fire with ashes to say that there was no agreement made. And then they're going to say, go back to your homes, make a decision for your people as long as it does not harm the other people in the Iroquois Confederacy. So they can go ahead and make decisions for their people. All right, so this was kind of a cool one, and I really love this about the Iroquois Confederacy, is when they're making decisions, they always have to consider the 7th generation. Well, what is the 7th generation, Miss Smith? So when they make decisions in the Iroquois Confederacy, they always have to think more than 200 years in the future. So they would have to say, okay, how will the decisions we're making today affect people 200 years from now? So I thought it was really cool that they consider how the decisions that they're making today, and they're being really thoughtful and cautious about how that's going to affect people in the future. So I want you guys to kind of think about, and you're going to get this question in your concept check this week as well. Do you think that our governments are passing strong enough laws to protect the environment, healthcare, human rights? Do you like the 7th generation? Do you think it would be really good for people to be always considering that 7th generation when they're making decisions? Is there anything bad about making that decision and always thinking about the 7th generation? It's just kind of an interesting concept because there's definitely pros and cons for both. So final point for this video this week is all decisions were made using consensus and all nations had veto power. So if you remember, veto power is the way to stop a decision from happening. So like I said, even if the youngers and elders agreed, but the Onondaga didn't agree, they still would not pass a decision. All right, have a fabulous weekend.